Some recent trade rumors around one Baltimore Orioles player has just leaked. We have all that coming up on this episode of Orioles Digest. But before you do anything, hit that subscribe button. If you're a part of this percentage, let's change it today. Guys, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Keep pushing. Thank you for joining Orioles Digest, and I'll continue giving you daily updates about the Baltimore Orioles that you don't want to miss. And like I said, one player from the Baltimore Orioles has just been linked to multiple trade rumors, and we're going to get into that right now. In a recent article, Mets insider Pat Ragazzo said, in addition to the Tigers' Spencer Torkelson, the Mets have also discussed a potential trade for Orioles first baseman Ryan Mountcastle as a possible replacement option for Pete Alonso, sources tell Mets on SI. Is there any truth to this discussion, and what could the Mets possibly offer to acquire Mountcastle? Now, last season was not the best year for Ryan Mountcastle. We saw his on base percentage, OPS, and everything else go down, including home run total. But his average was one of the best in his career. He had an average of 275 last year. He had 128 hits. Ryan Mountcastle struck out at a career rate last year, and he also dealt with injuries. But over the last 2 years, Ryan Mountcastle has not been that future first baseman that the Baltimore Orioles are looking for. Now, for the Mets, what could they possibly offer to acquire Ryan Mountcastle? Unless the Mets throw in Luis Acuna, who is Ronald Acuna's younger brother, I don't think the Baltimore's will be interested in trading him to New York. I think the Baltimore's have to keep him at this point. If you wanted to trade Ryan Mountcastle, it was the best to trade him 3 years ago when he had a career year, or last year during the trade deadline. Now, he's a perfect fit to your lineup. You have one of the best lineups in the American League and possibly one of the best in the MLB. So if you trade Ryan Mountcastle right now, that leaves a very large hole in your lineup. It's also forcing Kobe Mayo into a difficult spot. The Baltimore Orioles want him to develop a little bit in the minors and then come up to the MLB in the midpoint way of next season. Now, if you trade Mountcastle, that forces Kobe Mayo into an everyday first baseman. How is he going to contribute to this team's success, especially when they have high playoff hopes? Keeping Mountcastle right now is the best decision. I know a lot of people won't agree with me. You have to move on from Ryan Mountcastle right now. But if you can find a perfect trade scenario that you trade Ryan Mountcastle, you get a starting pitcher who's at ace potential, then that's the best deal. I don't think the Mets can offer much. They don't have much to offer. When you're talking about Ryan Mountcastle, this is a guy who's a very good power hitting first baseman. Now that the wall is moved back in, I think he might have a career year. And this is a might. Ryan Mountcastle could also replicate the season he had last year with between 13 to 16 home runs, in which I don't expect. I think he'll be more healthy this year. He'll be ready to go and possibly kind of have an all-star season. My take on Ryan Mountcastle right now is he's still a very young player, still has years under control, but in 2 years he'll be a free agent and he'll be looking for a big deal. That's something the Baltimore's are not going to offer. Now, there could be a situation. I'm just saying, I'm not throwing it out there. I know it won't happen, but trade him to the Toronto Blue Jays because Mountcastle loves playing in Toronto, and his career numbers are very good. Average well over 320, has over 15 home runs. He's dominant. Maybe the Baltimore's can throw in Cade, a couple first round picks, some prospects. Hey, land Vlad Guerrero Jr. That's an outstretch. I know that won't happen, but that's the only thing I would say that could possibly move Ryan Mountcastle to a different team unless it's Dylan Cease or Luis Castillo. I don't think the Mets have much to offer him, but it's interesting to see Ryan Mountcastle's name coming up in the trade rumors now because earlier in the offseason, I was saying the best point is to get rid of Ryan Mountcastle right now and build for the future. And now that it looks like the Baltimore's are going to go into the next season with this current roster and rotation, it's no point take anyone out unless you're going to gain starting ace level pitcher. We have some recent news on Dylan Cease, and I'm going to give you some good insight. So there have been multiple rumors that a lot of teams are interested in Dylan Cease. We already know the Padres made Michael King available on the trade market. They also repeatedly said once again we're open to trading Dylan Cease. Now, could the Baltimore Orioles finally make a move? All off season, I've been putting around so many videos, so many narratives about the Baltimore Orioles and Dylan Cease and what a trade package should possibly look like. But now it's getting to the point where the Padres are thinking about their future. And after losing out on Roki Sasaki, they have no other options. Dylan Cease is not going to re-sign with them. They're not going to extend him. So the best option for them to do right now is trade him. And I think the best team you can trade him to is the Baltimore Orioles. They have the draft capital you need. Hey, I would possibly throw Kobe Mayo in there. I know a lot of people are very high on Kobe Mayo, but the Baltimore Orioles have so much young talent that you can move on from Kobe Mayo and it won't hurt your team in the future. If Ryan Mountcastle has a career year, like I said before, you can re up his contract. Even though it might be a little bit much than expected, you could still have other guys like Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holliday, Adley Rutschman. Ryan O'Hearn could be a good first baseman option. You have Tyler O'Neill. You have multiple guys in the minors who will be here in the future. Vance Honeycutt, Enrique Bradfield Jr., Samuel Bazio, who could possibly also move to first base. That's another guy I want to talk about. Samuel could also move to first base. And if you ship out Ryan Mountcastle, then Samuel could possibly be in the MLB this year. And Ryan O'Hearn can take that load at first base. So if you can get Ryan Mountcastle in the trade package with Dylan Cease, I think that's the best option. Now, the Mets are also open to trading for Dylan Cease. Now, the hard part about that is if the Mets include Brett Beatty and Luis Acuna Jr., then the Baltimore's have a big problem because we've seen multiple franchises send their best prospects to target top rotation guys, and the Baltimore's have yet to do that. Yes, I know in February last season we acquired Corbin Burns, but they didn't really give up much. They only gave up Joey Ortiz and Dale Hall, who weren't even expected to play a lot in the Baltimore's current roster. So now you're looking to give up on your future prospects for a guy like Dylan Cease. My opinion is keep the team that you have now. If Dylan Cease is available at the trade deadline in 2025, then you go after him. But for right now, I think you have to live or die with this roster. See what the young talent you have, see what Kobe Mayo has, and if he doesn't improve during the season, then you can possibly trade him. But right now, he's a number two prospect in baseball, and you have to keep that guy. So in today's episode, we talked about Dylan Cease, we talked about Ryan Mountcastle, and we talked about the recent news that the Mets are in on Ryan Mountcastle. There's a lot of news surrounding around the Baltimore Orioles right now. Pitchers and catchers, we're 2 weeks away from they report to spring training. So more news should come out over the next couple weeks. But if this is the rotation and the bullpen and the starting lineup that the Baltimore Orioles are going to go into with the 2025 season, I feel very confident. I don't feel confident winning the World Series, but I have a good chance that they might possibly win the L East once again. Thank you for watching Orioles Digest. Hit that subscribe button. Come join the channel. I'm giving you daily updates about the Baltimores that you don't want to miss.